According to a study published in June 2025, Trump's tariffs are expected to cost the average American household nearly $1,200 a year. That's right, $1,200 straight out of your pocket. And here's the kicker. This is just the beginning. So what's actually happening? Why is the US suddenly throwing out a free trade policy it's followed for over 40 years? And more importantly, how is this going to change your life? Because what we're experiencing right now isn't just a tariff comeback, it's an economic emergency that's reshaping the entire global economy. President Trump is rolling out a 10% tariff on all imports from every country starting April 5th, 2025 at 12:01 a.m. EDT. That means your BMW from Germany, your phone from China, even energy resources from Canada, everything will be hit. And here's the shocker. These new tariffs could raise core PCE inflation by at least 0.5 percentage points. Translation? Inflation is about to spike again. We're talking rising consumer prices, a higher cost of living, and of course a potential consumer backlash. But hold up. Before you smash that like button, you should know this. Everything I'm breaking down today directly impacts your wallet. So make sure to like this video, subscribe, and drop a comment to let me know what you think. Why is Trump doing this? What's the difference between Section 232 tariffs and Section 301 tariffs? And most importantly, how are these China tariffs and Mexico tariffs going to hit our economy? The answers aren't simple, because this isn't just Trump's playbook. It's Biden's too. These tariff hikes are part of a much larger movement rooted in economic nationalism. And in the next part, we're going to dive into how this policy is shaking up the global supply chain. Alright, let's get into the real story. Because the reason behind this tariff comeback goes way deeper than it seems. Back in 2018, when Trump first slapped tariffs on steel and aluminum, most people thought, this is temporary, no big deal. But then Biden came into office, and not only did he keep those tariffs, he added new ones. We're talking semiconductor tariffs, pharmaceutical tariffs, and even a whopping 145% tariff on certain Chinese imports. So why all this? Because in 2024, America's trade deficit hit $945 billion. That means we imported $945 billion more than we exported. And that gap just keeps growing. But this isn't just about numbers. In Detroit, auto workers are losing jobs. In Pennsylvania, steel plants are shutting down. Made in America isn't just a campaign slogan anymore, it's about economic survival. And here's the crucial part. These tariffs aren't just import taxes, they're economic weapons. When China imposes tariffs on us, we respond with reciprocal tariffs. When Mexico doesn't handle the fentanyl crisis, boom, fentanyl tariffs. This is no longer just a trade dispute, it's turning into an all-out economic war. So how does this affect the global supply chain? Major companies like Apple, Ford, and Nike are all being forced to restructure. Reshoring is the new game plan, bringing manufacturing back to the US, but here's the catch. Who's paying for it? You are. Take a pair of Nike shoes made in China. It costs $30 to produce. With a 25% tariff, that price jumps to $37.50. That extra $7.50 comes out of your pocket, and that's just one product. In a tariff-driven economy, it's a domino effect. When auto tariffs hit, it's not just cars that get more expensive, so do parts, tires, even gas. President Trump says America's first trade policy will bring back millions of jobs. But economists say the opposite, that this is fueling cost-push inflation, which is almost impossible to avoid. So what's the real deal? What's the link between tariffs and inflation? Why are consumer prices really rising? And more importantly, do these tariffs actually help American jobs? That's what we'll break down in part 3. Because what I'm about to show you might seriously shock you, especially when we get into the WTO disputes and legal battles happening behind the scenes. This movement isn't just about tariffs, it's about something much bigger, and every piece of it is already affecting your daily life. In the next part, we'll calculate the real cost of this entire policy shift. Now let's talk about the real bombshell. Are these tariffs actually just a play for votes? In the 2024 election, Trump won in Michigan. Why? Because he promised auto workers, I'll bring your jobs back. He won in Pennsylvania too. Why? He told steel workers, America first. So the question is, are these political tariffs or genuine economic policy? Here's the shocking truth. The connection between tariffs and elections runs deep. The voter data is wild. Every swing state with a strong manufacturing base flipped to Trump. Coincidence? Not even close. But now for the bigger question, do these tariffs actually work? According to the latest Congressional Budget Office report, the steel tariffs introduced back in 2018 helped create about 3,500 new jobs. Sounds good, right? But wait, the same report says those tariffs led to 6,400 jobs being lost in downstream industries. That's a net loss of 2,900 jobs, and that's just in manufacturing. The retail sector? even worse, Walmart, Target, Costco, they all had to raise prices just to protect their profit margins. That means middle-class families saw their purchasing power drop. Let's break it down. The average American family spends about $2,400 a year on food. Thanks to tariffs, that's now around $2,640, an extra $240. Spend $1,200 a year on clothing, now it's $1,380. Wait, $180 more. Electronics used to be $800, now it's $920. $120 more. Total? An extra $540 a year just to live your life. And that's the real reason inflation keeps creeping up. But what does this mean for international trade? Right now the US is facing 47 WTO disputes. Yep, 47. The European Union, Canada, Mexico, even South Korea are all filing legal challenges. Why? Because these tariffs are violating WTO rules. And here's the real problem. If the US loses those legal battles, we could face retaliatory tariffs. That means tariffs on us, on American products. So now companies like Boeing, Caterpillar, and Ford are losing export markets. Other countries are hitting American-made goods with tariffs in return, and that creates a nasty cycle of economic retaliation. But the biggest issue of all, the so-called national security justification. The Trump administration claims these tariffs are necessary for national security. But come on, are Chinese solar panels a national threat? Are Mexican avocados a danger to the country? That logic just doesn't hold up. And here's the turning point. This entire tariff strategy is causing massive global trade disruption. The breakdown in supply chains isn't just hurting the US, it's sending shockwaves through the entire world economy. Because today's markets are deeply interconnected. A tariff increase in one country causes risk and instability somewhere else. Business uncertainty goes up. Companies can't plan for the long term. That means less innovation, fewer R&D investments, and slower job creation. So now the question is, how do we balance economic sovereignty with free trade? Is there a way to boost American competitiveness without tariffs? That's exactly what I'm going to answer next. Because what I'll show you are real alternatives, solutions that might just lead us out of this tariff war and put an end to the economic populism wave that's taken over both parties. So how do we get out of this tariff war? And what should we expect for the rest of 2025? Here's the truth. This isn't just Trump's trade agenda. This is a bipartisanship. Biden's economic policy supports tariffs too, which means this 2025 trade strategy isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Economists are proposing three main solutions. First, targeted tariffs. Instead of blanket tariffs, only apply them to critical industries like semiconductors, where there's a real national security concern. But tariffs on things like fentanyl, that's a gray area. Second, support reshoring initiatives with subsidies. Give companies tax breaks to bring manufacturing back home without jacking up consumer prices. Third, focus on trade negotiations. Tariffs can be a tool, sure, but they should be used to strike better trade deals. Sit down with China, Mexico, Canada, find common ground instead of raising walls. So what's coming for the rest of 2025? On April 5th, the new tariffs kick in. Expect inflation to rise, and the Fed might respond with interest rate hikes. By summer, the European Union will hit back with retaliatory tariffs, up to 30% on American agricultural products. By fall, China is likely to respond with export restrictions on rare earth minerals. So what should you be doing right now? First, diversify your investments. Focus on sectors like energy, healthcare, and domestic services. Second, prepare for higher prices, especially on electronics, clothing, and car parts. Third, support American businesses. The reshoring trend is here to stay, and companies investing in US manufacturing could be long-term winners. Here's the bottom line. The relationship between tariffs and jobs, tariffs and inflation, it's complicated. But the debate around American competitiveness and economic sovereignty isn't going anywhere. If this video helped clarify things, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Next week we'll break down China's response strategy in detail. And in the comments tell me, do you think this tariff policy makes sense, or are there better alternatives? Because your economic future depends on decisions being made right now. Stay informed, stay engaged, and I'll see you in the next one.